Before we get started with the video, I just wanted to ask you to subscribe and hit the notification bell, like and share the video, and leave a comment down below. Please do, by the way, because I actually do respond to all of those myself. Don't forget to check me out on Twitch and join the Discord where you can voice chat with me while I live stream and you won't be recorded or anything on YouTube and Twitch, so that's pretty cool. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram. If you like to read, you can see my after-action reports on my blog. And if you are interested, you can get some merch from my spring store. The links for everything are in the description below. Hello everyone and welcome. Are you a fan of the Legacy of Kain series? How would you like to play a multiplayer entry in the franchise? Well, there isn't one, but I may have found the next best thing. I'm Mike, and this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and this is the rapid action review of V Rising. V Rising was both developed and published by Stunlock Studios, most well known for Battlerite from 2016, and having most recently done, other than V Rising, Battlerite Royale in 2018. This is a multiplayer survival game, so there isn't a story explicitly, but the opening cinematic does a very good job of introducing the world and setting the player up for the journey ahead. The setup here truly is very similar to Legacy of Kain Blood Omen 2. Vampires once ruled the land, until the humans rose up and defeated them in a great battle, after which the remaining vampires were either killed or retreated into hidden crypts to slumber. You, my friend, are one of the surviving vampires, and your time of sleep has ended. It is now your time to rise. At least, that's the game's tagline. So, moving on to the game's combat. The game's combat is totally skill-based, with no lock-on or aim assist being featured. As a vampire, you will wield mythical vampire powers, spells, and both melee and ranged weapons. There are swords, spears, axes, hammers, slashers, crossbows, and my personal favorite, scythes. As you make higher level versions of your weapons, you will unlock 2 of their special attacks, which can be chained together alongside your basic attacks, making for some very interesting and fast-paced combat. Moving on to the game's special features, after creating your character, you will be let loose onto the world with the goal of surviving the other players, if you play on a PvP server, and hunting down the game's multitude of bosses known as V-Carriers. You will track down these V-Carriers using a device called a Blood Altar, which you can build in your base, that allows you to track each individual boss if your combat level is high enough. Do note your combat level in the game is based on the average combat level of your gear. Killing a V-Carrier will grant you new powers, spells, and allow you to progress further up the game's tech tree. The game's most just groundbreaking and greatest feature, in my opinion, is your ability to build your own castle, where you will rest in between adventuring out into the world, craft yourself new gear, and manage a small army of enslaved humans that you can build up over time. Something, by the way, that has never been featured in the Legacy of Kain series. In order to build and craft, you will have to gather resources like other survival craft games, but in V Rising, as you capture humans into your service as minions, you can send them to gather resources for you. This really is appreciated and helps very much so with the grind. So, moving on to my final statement and review score of the game. Stunlock Studios has done a great job of creating an interesting and entertaining world for us to explore in V Rising. And unlike a lot of sandbox survival games, it gives players a motivation to progress independent of PvP gameplay by including the multitude of bosses that are directly tied to character and tech tree progression. There's a problem I had with Ark where there's just, other than PvP, there wasn't very much to do if you were playing solo. So, I also want to note that the great way in which the game handles progression should not be understated. Resource gathering is much faster than in other games, and the inclusion of the ability to send minions on resource runs for you very effectively reduces any drag in the game's momentum. And also, speaking of drag and momentum, the game's combat is fast-paced, fun, and gets better and better as you progress and gain more abilities, which give you more options in how you want to handle combat. Because of all of this, I give the game a rating of 2 thumbs way up. Excellent. I am totally addicted to this game right now, and I'm having a really fun time in my in rising up in my vampiric powers alongside the other players on my server. And I also just want to add in there, it goes without saying that it is always great to have a game that allows you to build a community of friends to play with. Imagine, like I said, a third-person version an isometric version of the Legacy of Kain series in which you can play against solo bosses and also have buddies to play alongside of and against. But that's all I've got for you today, guys. I want to thank you all for watching and just say God bless you all and have a good day.